One of the questions that I get very often from our customers is to give them a more detailed guidance around the functionality in MobileIron and the functionality in Microsoft Intune. Now, the caveat is that we, of course, don't know all the functionality that exists in Intune, so I'm going to share what we know from publicly available sources. And obviously, what you should do if you're investigating these two products is bring them in-house, test them head-to-head. There's no substitute for testing the products head-to-head to figure out exactly what matches with the needs that you have as a potential user of an enterprise mobility management product. But that being said, let me go through in some detail based on what we know and what we've seen out there publicly, and that what we've heard in the market. When I think about the capabilities of products in our space, and I'll obviously I'll give you the perspective from a MobileIron side, which is, we believe security is fundamental. So many of the things that I talk about here are going to be related to what happens with a security profile within an organization. And so you'll see at the left-hand side of this particular chart, I've separated features into a couple of categories: security, MultiOS, apps, ecosystem, and then customer adoption. And we believe all of these are very important. An EMM platform must have deep security capabilities, because that's really the reason that you buy it. In order to enable your enterprise, you need to deliver applications, but you have to make sure all that data is secure. That's why security is so fundamental. MultiOS is key because there is no single operating system that everyone in your organization is going to use. And so it's very important for the EMM solution to be absolutely up to date in terms of the support it provides for the different operating systems. Apps is fundamental to the enablement of the organization. This is what drives business transformation. Ecosystem, essential, because EMM is not an island. It doesn't sit there by itself. It needs to actually talk to and interact with other technologies that you have in place. And no two companies and no two users and no two divisions want to use the same technology. So having a broad ecosystem is very important for your EMM solution. And then finally, customer adoption. In the end, the best source of information around how different products work is what your peers can tell you. Does the product scale? Have we deployed it to many, many devices? Are we doing sophisticated functions through the product? This is how we look at what an EMM product should accomplish. Let me now go through MobileIron and Microsoft Intune. So if we start at security, MobileIron is a comprehensive government-grade security product. Intune does have security elements, but we believe it has a very incomplete security model. So if you look at the core certifications that are important for security, encryption certifications, common criteria, which is probably the hardest set of certifications to get. MobileIron is actually the first vendor in the entire industry to get common criteria certification for MDM protection profile version 2, which you see there, which is the latest common criteria for our particular industry. And then FedRAMP, which is the certification for government cloud. These are all certifications that MobileIron has. These are not certifications that Intune has. This always provides a good litmus test of how focused a product is on security and how deep its capabilities are. The next capability within MobileIron that's a real advantage for our customers is our secure data gateway. And this allows us to provide per-app VPN, and it allows us to provide a host of conditional access and security capabilities that are very difficult for other products like Intune to be able to provide. Because the data is actually managed and controlled by MobileIron in the network, that means we can provide conditional access across applications, not just Microsoft applications, but Salesforce and others as well. And you'll notice there's a couple of things on this chart that specifically say across apps. Intune tends to be very focused on Microsoft applications, and so the set of capabilities it provides for Microsoft applications are different than the set of capabilities it provides for all applications. Our belief is that you need to have the same depth of conditional access capability across all the applications you have without having to put in place new IDP infrastructure and so forth. So being able to provide security across applications is very important because it's not a Microsoft world. Microsoft is a very important application provider, but many of the core workflows that our customers use, which drive their competitive advantage, don't happen in the Microsoft stack. They happen through Oracle, they happen through SAP, through Salesforce, through line of business applications. And so our mindset from MobileIron has always been, we have to provide a security model across that. We shouldn't be biased towards the Microsoft applications. And this is, I think, just natural when you have a product that is independent versus a product that's tightly tied to one particular application stack. You'll notice I've got a couple of other comments in this first section here too. Secure browsing and security innovation. So secure browsing is really important because you have your intranet that you want your end users to be able to get to effectively. These are the kinds of capabilities that MobileIron has had for a long time. They're very deep in the product. One of the challenges that we believe that Intune has here is that you end up having to whitelist all the sites that you want people to get to. So it's not just the case that you should look at, oh, can I have one secure browsing session to a particular site? But you should ask yourself, when I want to have my employees go to more and more sites, how scalable is the model? Because security without scalability doesn't end up functioning in a large enterprise. And finally, security innovation. We believe we have more modern EMM patents than anyone else in our industry. Intune is interesting because we have seen Intune implement basic use case capabilities, but we've seen very little security innovation from Intune. And I think that my belief is that that's not been really the focus of the product. Our focus as MobileIron has absolutely been to be always pushing the envelope to be providing the best of breed security model for mobility, and now desktop and IoT moving forward as well. Let's now move to MultiOS. So this comes down to a difference in mindset. We as MobileIron have a fundamental, very strong, tightly held belief that we have to be committed to all the operating systems that are out there at the endpoint, whether that's Microsoft operating systems like Windows, whether it's Android from Google, whether it's iOS and Mac from Apple, and whether it's the new generation of the operating systems that we're going to see for IoT. And so I'll share a couple of examples that I think highlight some of the differences in, and I believe, the way that we look at operating system support and the way that Intune looks at it. If you look at something like device-based VPP, this is a capability from Apple, advanced iOS capabilities. We support that, Intune does not. If you look at the advanced capabilities of Android, being able to do device owner, being able to do Zebra devices, which are custom ruggedized devices, being able to do kiosk mode. These are really important for the workflows that you see for Android deployment. MobileIron supports those. We don't believe Intune does. Let's step back all the way to 2015 when Google first launched their new security framework for Android. At the time it was called Android for Work, now it's called Android Enterprise. MobileIron and many other EMM providers supported it right away. It took Intune over 18 months, over 600 days to get to the point of support. So think about that gap and what is the reflection of that gap? That either means there weren't investments that Microsoft was making within Intune to be able to support new technologies the way the other providers did, or maybe it wasn't as important to the mission. So whichever one those is, that's an indication that the commitment level, we believe, to truly being multi-OS is much stronger within MobileIron. Let's now talk about Windows 10. Windows 10 is an incredibly important operating system for MobileIron customers because it's the modernization of Windows. And it's exciting for customers because now you can take a MobileIron model, an EMM model, and apply it to Windows 10 security and management. It's been very important for us from a product and architectural perspective to be able to put in place a set of capabilities that let you use the new EMM policies and controls, but without giving up some of the older controls that you had. So the older policies and so forth that you had that you need to be able to move to the new model, we've been able to provide a unified framework through MobileIron and MobileIron Bridge to be able to enable that. That's not a framework that Intune has. Intune and System Center, which of course is the main product that many customers use for traditional CMT client management on Windows, need to coexist because the functionalities are different. So if I use Intune for a certain set of EMM capabilities, that's fine, but then I may have other capabilities, other policies I need to apply to the device. So then I have to make the choice, well, oh, I have to move back to a CMT model. So coexistence is complicated. What we believe is when you're making the move from legacy to modern, you need to do a flash cut, right? You need to be able to say, I'm going to move modern devices into this model. I'm not going to give up the old capabilities I had, but I'm going to have a unified framework to be able to do that. That's what we've provided through MobileIron and MobileIron Bridge. Let's now move to applications, which are the engine of business transformation. And an example of the difference between the products is that MobileIron is focused from day one on application management. We actually have 4 patents on the Enterprise App Store, which is one of the fundamental innovations we believe of our market from the early days of MobileIron. If you look at where applications come from, some applications are built by the enterprise. Many of them come from the public app stores. It could be the Apple App Store, or it could be Google Play, right? Or it could be Microsoft's App Store. How do you integrate with those? This cannot be a manual process. In MobileIron, we've got tight integration with Apple's App Store and Google Play. And so the process becomes automated, it becomes very easy, it's very complete for the IT administrator, instead of being manual and limited, which is what you find within Intune. The other thing that's a reflection of how MobileIron looks at applications versus Intune, we believe, is that we were one of the founding members of the App Config community, which is a vendor-neutral cross-EMM community that's focused on encouraging the use and educating on the use of native standards. So this is a standards-based organization that really makes sure that people understand the capabilities that Apple and Google are building into their operating systems for applications. Even now, over a year since App Config community was launched, and the vast majority of EMM providers have become part of it, and over 100 ISVs, Microsoft is still not. And I believe this is an indication of how us and the rest of the EMM community are supportive of native standards, and Microsoft still struggles with that for Intune. Let's now move to ecosystem. As I mentioned earlier, EMM is not an island. You must integrate, you must have connections to other software in your software stack. This has been essential for MobileIron. We have over 280 different technical integrations, both on the client side to secure applications, and on the server side to integrate with existing infrastructure you might have, like ServiceNow, like Splunk, like NAC capabilities from companies like Aruba and Cisco and so forth. This is an area where Intune is very narrow. Even though Microsoft has such incredible breadth as an organization, the Intune ecosystem, based on what they have on their website, is absolutely tiny compared to what we have in MobileIron. Now, why does that matter to a customer? It matters to a customer because they have existing infrastructure they need and they want choice. A lot of this is about choice. I want the choice of cloud service. I want the choice of security products. I want the choice of applications, of devices, of clouds, of identity services. That's what we're really focused on in MobileIron. And that's something that we believe has been a real gap within Intune. So given all that, which is a technology assessment of the two products, and I absolutely encourage everyone who's watching this to go and test the products head to head, because that's the only way you're really going to be able to find what one product does versus another. But let's now step back from that and talk about what really matters, which is what are customers using? MobileIron is a proven technology. We have millions of devices enrolled in MobileIron. We have hundreds of customers that have deployed more than 5,000 devices in MobileIron. And I would really encourage, if you're considering Intune, to ask Microsoft, to force Microsoft to allow you to talk to customers that have actually enrolled over 5,000 devices in Intune or have used it for sophisticated capabilities. In the end, it's the other customers, your peers, that are going to give you the best sense of how these products work. And finally, the last thing I'll mention is that because of our heavy focus on security, we have 2 different deployment models, not just the cloud, but also on premises. That's always been a very big strength of MobileIron, and that's an area where Intune really doesn't have the option. It's cloud only. So with that, let me end there and give you at least a summary note of what we've talked about so far, which is it's the difference between a best-of-breed product that's focused on sophisticated use cases, which we believe MobileIron is, and a product that is trying to hit the good enough bar, but frankly is really immature compared to the other products that are in the market. Again, I've shared with you what we know about both MobileIron, of course, in detail, and Intune from publicly available information, and I encourage you to test these 2 products head-to-head and decide which one is best for your use cases. Thank you.